Hey, Seth.
Good evening.
All right, we're all set, Mike.
All right, we're on. My name is Michael Harden, Chairman of the Parking Authority. It's our regularly scheduled meeting on 28th of October. And let's see, right off with the agenda. We have to do the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any changes or corrections? Not hearing any changes or corrections, can we make a motion to accept as written?
I can move so you vote on it, but I have to abstain from the vote because I was not there.
All right, Judd, can you second that? Judd, are you with us?
Okay.
There you are. Your voice is still off, Judd. Your microphone's on, but we can't hear you. It's interesting. Hey, George.
How's it going, Mike?
Good. There he is. Oh, that's better, Judd. I can see you now.
Hello, everyone.
So I'm looking for a second. I'm looking for a second on the motion to accept the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Judd is our second. All those in favor?
I'm
Yes.
abstaining.
You're abstaining.
Yep.
All right. Do we have any public comments? Is there anybody waiting to chime in? Actually,
There's no one from the public in the meeting live. I don't know if there was anything emailed in by anyone.
no, I don't have anything emailed in, and I don't see anyone either. So we'll move past that. All right, so a little bit of the old business. We want to discuss and take action on the Sono Seaport Captain parking space at the Maritime Garage. Now, this was brought to my attention before last month's meeting that we might offer the captain of the boat for the Sono Seaport a parking space at North Water. And it was suggested at the last meeting that we, instead of doing that, because we don't know what's happening with the North Water lot with the bridge and all, that we offer him a spot in the Maritime Center. And that was a great idea. So I took it back to them and they love the idea. So we're here now to vote that in. And the motion is that we offer them, now at this point in the year, it'll be for the spring, a single pass for their captains during the season in the Maritime lot for their car. Anybody want to talk about that a little more?
Can you just clarify, Mike, the Maritime lot, is that different than the Maritime Garage?
No, I'm sorry, the garage. Yes, the structure.
The garage, okay, okay.
Yeah. You're the lawyer, right?
Well, I just was asking the question.
Yes. Judd, you okay with that? I can't hear you. Guess we got to give Judd a few minutes to try to figure out his microphone.
What it may have happened, Judd, did you call in through a regular phone? Yes, if you call in using the information that is showing on the agenda, we're not going to allow you to talk. Unless, Larry, can you get him in as probably as one of the guests, and then he'll be able to speak.
No, he's
So
in
there-
as a panelist. He is in as a
No,
panelist.
no, but he probably call in through the number that is on the agenda. If that happens, then he cannot speak. It's
but
one
there's-
thing that with the Zoom.
There should be a number on the invite that he got as a panelist that he can call in. But Judd, the other thing you might want to do is right where it says mute or unmute.
Looks like he's calling in now.
Yeah, he is unmuted here.
Yeah, he's a guest and it shows him as unmuted, so.
Okay. We do need you as a panelist in here to make a quota. We can all come to your house, though, if you have a real problem.
I'm gonna grab a quick coffee while we figure this out.
Okay. Wow, look at that picture of George.
It's much better.
Yeah. Then live, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have a picture like that of me.
I think I look 10 pounds heavier in that picture.
Yeah, you did.
Time to change that. That's my stunt double, by the way. That's not really me.
Yeah. That's nice.
That's Mike's high school. That's
Your
Mike's
photo
high school
double.
picture.
Nice.
Judd, you tried dialing the phone number?
Is there a volume on your microphone on that computer, Judd? Maybe the volume's off.
It looks like Judd is dialed in, but he's muted, not where his picture is, but where his name is.
Yeah.
Larry, are you able to unmute Judd's call-in?
No, all I can do is click ask to unmute. That's all I can do.
What is it, *6 or something like that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's unmuted. Yeah, his call-in. Which one is his call-in?
Second one down below that.
Just his name.
Yeah, Judd, it's I think it's *6 to unmute. Pretty sure it's *6 on your phone.
Hello, Sally. How are you?
No, *6 isn't working. *7. Pretty sure it's *6 though.
Yeah, I think it's *6.
Be careful. One of those is the seat ejection.
Yeah, there's a *9 also. Those are the three that I know of. I forget which one is it. But, oh, someone's under it. Oh, here we go. All right, Judd, I think we're good now.
Exactly.
Unmute.
Unmute your phone.
Yep, I see you now. If that's you, are you calling in an 0526?
So my question
Yep,
Yeah.
that's Judd's number.
Okay, so *6, and you're good. There you go.
Yay.
Think you're-
Okay,
There you are.
all right.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Judd, do you have any comments about the captain parking space?
Yeah, I just, at first glance, it seems okay, but is it going to open up a Pandora's box of other people wanting the same thing?
Yes, it may. But the truth is that as a nonprofit and attached to the Maritime and all, I think it pretty much stands alone as something that we can offer and
Okay.
talk against.
Okay. Well, I think too, I'm not opposed to giving it to another nonprofit, with after some thought and discussion. So yes, I would approve it. I think it's an okay thing to do.
And I don't think it's something we're going to advertise so much, but I do think it is a good thing. So
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to do it? Do we want to do it just for a year, perhaps? See how it works?
try it for the 2001 year,
Just a thought. I don't know.
21.
Yep.
Yeah, that can be part of the motion. Absolutely. So then I'd like to make a motion to grant the Seaport Association one pass to the Maritime Garage for their captain of the boat come the new spring season for them.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Tom seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Excellent. So we'll inform them. Thank you all. The next order of business is a discussion and action about the train station surface lots Sunday parking. Judd, you want to give us your 30 seconds on that?
Yeah, Norwalk is the only municipality along the Metro North line that charges for parking in their train stations on Sundays, except for Stamford, Bridgeport, and New Haven. And those three are all Amtrak stops. So we're the only non-Amtrak municipality that's charging. And I think it's a mistake to charge. I think if we make it free on Sunday, it's going to bring more people into Norwalk on the weekends. Personally, I haven't done it in a long time, but when I used to take the train into the city on Sundays, I would drive to Darien and to park for free on Sunday. And then when I came home, I would go to the grocery store in Darien or go to the takeout Thai food place in Darien. So it's not a huge number, but I think it's just also makes the parking authority presents that much friendlier face that we could have by offering that for free. And I think the numbers, staff, do you want to talk about the numbers or?
Yes, Stath, you want to give us your thought on that? And I think you have a few numbers for us.
Yes, I do. Do you want me to share the screen or should we just talk? Now, one thing I have to put the caveat in, I made a mistake and I didn't do it just for the railroad station lot. I did it kind of system wide. So that was my mistake, but we can kind of extrapolate from it and make some simple assumptions. And I could also just follow up to make sure what we talk about is accurate. But I don't think it's going to be very significant if we're just talking about the lots. The garage in Sono is probably a different story. Just other issues that may arise just from people pulling tickets and coming back saying that that they have a lost ticket for Sunday, then they'd have to be charged a lost ticket fee. But other than that,
well, this is not for the structure though. This is just for the surface lots.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be not a very significant number if you decide to do that. But do you want me to share what I have?
Sure.
For system wide, and then we can make some assumptions on it, and then I'll follow that up with some more accurate numbers.
Sure. Can you share your screen or?
Yeah, I can do that. I will do that now.
Okay.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
So it's the basis for the projection is going to depend on whether we go with pre-COVID activity or, assuming the current level of activity is going to going to continue. So when you look at the last 3 months, 2020, that's the first part here. That's the number of transactions we've had kind of system wide. So if we assume, say, the lots represent 30% of that, and the revenue, then I guess we can, and over the course of a year, it's about 25,000, if depending on how long you're going to do it. But if you take it by the month, 30% of that, say the average is 7,000 or 8,000. Oops, excuse me.
Are you saying that we have yeah, the 25 number is not right, but
yeah, so the 25 would be over the course of a year. If you took
gotcha.
30% of this and assume that's a quarter of the year, then 25,000 would be the impact. But again, yeah, so that would be
System-wide, though.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about the entire system, all surface lots, right?
Yeah, well, I was assuming that 30% of this number is going to be the railroad station surface lots.
Okay.
So if this is a quarterly number, this is annualized.
Okay.
Seems, I mean, we're talking about Sono, eastbound lot, and the East Norwalk lot, and that's
East
it,
Norwalk.
right?
Right. So
Yeah,
if we use September as the bellwether for what's going to happen in the future, then we're talking about a couple grand, a month.
Okay. We looked at this once, I think, just before the virus, and I thought the number was like $1,400 or something. I mean, it was very insignificant.
I think it is. I may be overstating it here, but it's still relatively insignificant to the revenue that you're generating, even if this number, is correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should just go ahead and do it. And now with COVID, I mean, the numbers are even less, right?
Yeah, that's what these numbers represent right here.
Tom,
I mean, the only, I guess the only thing we would have to just monitor is if when that gets out, if that, cannibalizes any other revenue and people park there as opposed to Webster, say. But I don't really think that's going to be that significant either. But that's just my gut.
Just Sundays, right?
Just Sundays, right, Judd? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's all. I mean, it just brings us more in line with surrounding municipalities. It's one less thing for people to complain about, Norwalk being too aggressive with parking.
Okay, Tom, do you have anything to add?
The only comment I have is that I think it's a good idea. Do it is the same with the Maritime garage thing. Do it on an annual basis. And I'm thinking maybe there would be some change in the East Norwalk location with the construction going on there over time. And it can be renewed annually and probably forever. But that way we keep an eye on it,
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, I think it's almost automatically annual because it's going to come up in the budgeting process anyway each year.
I suppose. Yeah. Either way is fine.
Jessica, do you, as the city representative, do you feel that there's anything either wrong or right with that, with this idea?
No, I don't. I think I'm not an objection to the idea. I think it's a great idea. I think to Judd's point, I think it gives a really good message of parking. I think it gets people to Sono and to East Ave, which I think is helpful. I did talk to Staffy about the numbers, and I think, we were thinking that there was probably about a third of the parking around the TOD lots. And based on the analysis that he has done, I think that it's a reasonable number for you to consider. And I agree. I think that maybe it's something that you want to consider for a year, or something that you want to consider during COVID while the executive order is active. I think the timeline, you can decide on the timeline, but it's also something that we can look at month to month and monitor how it's going. And I think Steph's point is really good on unintended consequence of people parking there and not parking in the other lots. But in reality, I think during this time, we want to do anything we can to help people out. So I would encourage the parking authority to consider it.
Yeah, I like the idea. I mean, both lots are a little bit removed from active areas. And the original impetus for this whole idea, I believe, was a bicycle club, Judd, that was going town by town, and using lots. And, we want to be included in that. They were skipping us because they didn't want to deal with the fees. I think that would bring more people, which I think is a good idea. So let's, Judd, do you have a motion, Judd, for that?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the railroad station surface parking lots now be free on Sunday for the next year. And we then re-examine this issue a year from now.
Tom, would you like to second that?
We'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Not seeing Judd's hand, but that's unanimous. So let that pass. I like it.
Bravo.
Bravo. Oh, there you are. Yeah, cool. All right. Let me get my agenda back up here. Okay, information and discussion, the main meeting. I'm not gonna skip my report, but I'm just gonna go right into the request from Mike Oz. We all have a letter from him back in March. And that letter was basically requesting a letter that he wrote with, at the time, Dick Brescia and others, talking about the rates in the Webster lot pertaining to 50 Washington Street. And we have a solution for him against that letter that we'd like to present to him, that I would like to read if I can find. Hold on one second. Let's see. Jessica, you resent that to me as a email.
I did. I sent it to you at 5:04.
Yeah, I'm just opening it up here. All right, let me read this to everybody. This is a proposal for 50 Washington, October 28th, for existing parking spaces, including non-reserved spaces, 346 of them, and reserved spaces, 40. The recommendation is to meet 50 Washington in the middle. In doing so, we could reduce the current fee of $70 to $65. The request was $60 at the time for non-reserved, and $90 to $85, where the request was $80. This represents a loss in revenue of $23,000, or a savings for 50 Washington of almost 7%. An annual increase of 2% will be applied to the base rate. Now, Eric has a comment on that, which I'll get to in a minute. For the new parking spaces requests, when he gets new tenants, the recommendation is to have Mike Oz or a representative thereof represent the final lease to the parking authority. At that time, the authority will discuss the possibility of locking into a rate that can stay consistent for the lifetime of the lease for those spaces, including the option years. If redevelopment of the lot is to occur, all agreements, allocated parking will be dissolved, obviously, for everybody. This will allow the parking authority to manage parking effectively over time instead of agreeing to a block of parking for a 20-year period of time. So essentially what that says is, let me come back to our meeting here. Hold on. So a lot of computing going on. Okay, what that says is, you know, his biggest problem that he presented to me personally was that when he did a lease to a larger company in his building, he would take the parking fees at that time and roll them into the lease as well and present the lease. And then at some point, as we raise the price of the lease, he would not be able to pass that on to his leasees, or it would become, you know, a sticking point for him. He actually has claimed to have lost the lease because he couldn't nail down the parking. As 50 Washington is one of the buildings that actually doesn't have parking for the building right adjacent to the parking, he has to be our partner in this. So this is our attempt to become a little bit more of a partner of his in this, to get more people in his building and try to bring more people to Norwalk. That's what I got for the discussion anyway. Did everybody else read the letter? Judd, did you read the letter?
Yeah, yes, a
What do you
while
think?
ago. No, I think we need to work with him. I think he makes a good point, and it's it's a big building. There's a lot of people that could be in there, and, you know, it's a lot of residual business for South Norwalk, having all those people there. So
I don't know that this, well, like I said, it's kind of a one-off, but I think it's important. He is one of our bigger tenants. Tom, what do you think?
I think it makes sense. But then there is a limit to the number of spaces that we get locked into. Is that right?
Yeah, it would be per, you know, every time he does a lease to a business, in the lease somewhere, it says that he's going to give them 10 spots, 15 spots, 100 spots, however large, whatever size that business is.
But would we be locked into whatever he tells us? Could he lease the whole lot at some point?
No, he's not leasing the lot. He's just leasing his building, and he's offering spaces to his tenant. So
I said it wrong. If I go in and lease his whole building and say I need 400 parking spaces, would we be obligated to give him 400 parking spaces?
No, not at all. One of the reasons why we want him to come to us is because we have to determine whether or not we even have the spaces for him.
Okay, that's fine.
Jess? Where is Jess? Oh, there she is. Would you have more to add, Jess?
No, I think Tom makes a really good point, and that's exactly the thought was, where is the limit in the number of parking spaces that can be allocated to 50 Washington? So if it's an ongoing basis, then you have the ability to manage the parking effectively. You can say yes or no, or negotiate how many spots that is. And I think that that's a really important piece for you guys to have, or for you to be able to negotiate with Mike, depending on what that looks like. Because you're absolutely right. If he comes in and asks for another 100 parking spaces, I'm not sure that I'm not sure that the parking authority is in a position to be able to do that. So I think
Right.
I think it's responsive. I think it's responsive enough, but not locking into something over a 20-year period, which you may not be able to, you may not want to do.
Right, right. Now, let me read what Eric said. I presented this to Eric earlier when I found he wasn't going to be able to come to the meeting, and he came back with a good comment, actually. His comment says, this sounds good to me, except for the fixed rate of increase. He says that maybe we should build in an annual increase commensurate with inflation, which I think actually makes sense.
Mike, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
How many spaces does he currently have allocated to 50 Washington?
Shit. I don't know if it's better up.
386.
386.
Spaces back there.
Yeah. So he has 386 spaces. Yeah.
Which he can pick and choose who he gives to, you know, how many spaces he gives per tenant. If he chooses to keep some open for any people that are coming there for different kinds of work to do at 50 Washington Street, correct?
Right. So he has 40 spaces that are reserved, that are permanently reserved for 50 Washington. And then he has 346 spaces that are floating spaces that are not reserved spots, but they're permits for the lot.
Oh, so they're not actual reserved spots. They're just permits. So they could park anywhere within the lot. But the ones that are 450 Washington Street are how many? The ones
so there's 40. Yeah, there's 40 parking spaces that are reserved designated parking spaces.
Okay.
And those are the parking spaces that he pays more money for, each of those. And then he has 346 permits, essentially, that are floating permits where there's no designated spot.
Okay.
But a transient, if you had 346 transient people coming in one day, they could fill up all those spots, in theory, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Has that ever been an issue for them?
Not yet.
No.
What he said, the way he explained it to me was that, you know, he would give one of the 40 spaces to the owner or the head executive of that particular leasee, and then he would give the permitted other spaces to their employees, and they would end up parking, you know, as they could.
Operating the same way, it goes by license plate, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Pre-COVID, I did have a meeting with Mike Oz, and he was complaining about showing up there, his tenant showing up there and finding the parking lot almost completely full, especially around during the mall construction. And then, you know, again, talking about the garage and everything, which is in the future, down the pipe, nowhere near ready to start. I guess I'm a little bit concerned with this, only because the second largest tenant over there, or second largest property owner over there, where Seatown is, Jack Medusa, is probably going to come with some similar request. You know, he does have a big office building also, which is currently not at max capacity either. And I don't know if anybody's had a chance to speak to him, but a lot of his complaints were parking also. So I would just, I don't know, I think I'd be a little bit careful with this, just because once you do it for one person, you might have to start considering it for everybody.
But I think that's exactly why we're doing it, because what it does, it doesn't change anything in terms of his tenants parking, but what it does is it lends us a little bit more control. It brings us into any new tenants earlier on and gives us the opportunity to negotiate it. Like where right now there isn't really. So it's, you know, I think it's just positioning us a little better as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right. So this was not on the agenda as an action point. So we're not going to vote on it, but we are going to present it to Mike as this and see see what happens, right? Get
Okay.
back
But
to
we still have to figure out the financials of it,
Yeah.
like, right? I mean, are we going to tie our rates to his lease increases, or, you know, are we going to guarantee the rates for the terms of his lease
yes,
with the individual?
with a rate of increase commensurate with cost of living. So that's what we would be offering. We'd be saying to him.
Okay.
So listen, over the last few years, we've jumped almost 30% on him. And I think that was the kickback that we got and the reaction that we got. I'm not saying we can't still do that, but what I'm saying is that we do it in a more structured way earlier on in his tenant leasing deals so that we're
Okay.
all transparent and upfront about it.
All right. Well, we'll see what he says, I guess. I think that's the right way to proceed.
Okay. Okay, good. Back to my agenda. Where is it? Judd, do you have an update on the West Washington Street temporary parking installation?
I do. So it's come before the traffic authority 2 times. They turned it down twice for a couple of reasons. I have since then gone to Mike Yosak's office, spoke to him. I have some ideas about some changes that need to be made to the plan that I think could alleviate their concerns. So I went over that with Mike. He said he would make them. I just need to follow up on that. Once I have that, I want to schedule a meeting with the mayor, who chairs the traffic authority, and Jess. And I'd spoken to Jess earlier this week about attending that meeting, you know, the 2 of us together. And if we can get the mayor's buy-in, then I, you know, believe the rest of the traffic authority would follow through, because it's only a 3-person panel, so to speak.
Joe, do you know
So
when?
it's a matter. I'm sorry?
Do you know when they meet again?
November. The October meeting just passed. So my goal is to get the plan updated and meet with the mayor before the November meeting and get it on the November agenda.
Okay.
And with that in mind, depending on the weather from past years, we may be able to get it striped this year, but I'm not counting on it. It would probably more be early spring. But
Right.
Still, you know, we need it, especially with Washington Street's going to be staying the way it is, or better. We need that parking.
Yeah. And with the North Water lot, we're going to start losing the North Water lot as well. So.
Right.
Okay, good.
So-
Keep us up to speed on that. Just so you know, the past administration, right before it changed over, we did vote in spending that money. I think it was somewhere $6,000 or $7,000 to
Yep.
grind out the old lines and put in the new lines.
Yep.
And that's in the budget already and voted through. So if it does come to fruition, we can just make it happen.
Good.
All right. Thank you, Judd. I was going to let Jess give us a couple minutes on the marketing program. Are you still there, Jess? Since Eric couldn't be there, but I do
Yep,
know.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, great. So the marketing program, Jess.
Yep, so there's a transition in place. Our new vendors should be on in the next week or 2. We're really excited to have them start with us before the holiday season. We have successfully been operating a transition bridge for the last couple of months to ensure that we are still supporting the businesses that are out there and supporting the work that we've been doing. And, we look forward to bringing that new vendor on. We're just going through the contractual agreements now. Legal's working on them, and we expect them to be signed by next week. So all good things, feeling really optimistic about it, and good things to come.
Excellent. Excellent. That's our money being spent. I love it. Stothy, the request from Judd to discuss ticketing to transient ratio. He had a request last month that we put something together to look at. That.
Yep.
Where did Stothy go?
Hi.
There he is. Hey.
Hi there. All right. So yes, we did put that together. Let me share my screen again.
Okay.
And we can go through the data. There we go. All right, can everybody see that?
Yep.
So I went back all the way to 12, but I just hid those cells so we can do the last few years, so at least you can see something. So, the discussion point was, and the question Judd had, which was a good one, was, so, we're down with tickets issued compared to previous years. And we know demands are down, but what's the ratio of the number of tickets issued compared to the demands in the system? So that ratio is here for the last 3 months from July, and you can see it compared to previous years in the graphically, if that makes it easier for you. So, whoops, I'm sorry, hold on. What just happened here? I think as we were hoping and suspected that the ratio, the percentage of tickets issued to demands, and represented by this orange line for this fiscal year, these last 3 months, is lower than it's been in previous years, except for this little blip right here in July of 19, which I don't know. That's actually July of 2018, fiscal year 19.
Right.
So was there anything in particular, Judd, more that you needed, or was this, I don't know if you saw this file or not yet.
I see, looking at your graph here, if you look at fiscal year 20 in October, we were a bit less than we are now in terms of the ratio, no?
Yeah, I don't know where October is going to end up this year.
Okay.
So we'll have to see,
okay.
And I'll have to, look at what happened in actually, in October.
Can you slide back up to the grid? I look at these numbers, and for September, we're at 1.41. I see November of 2020, fiscal year 2020, we were about at that same ratio. Other years, you look at this, and we were quite a bit higher. 2.37. I just think it's for me, at least, it's helpful for me to understand when I hear about people complaining about ticketing in Norwalk, that we're ticketing at a lower rate than past years for the most part, fairly substantially. And I think given the COVID virus, we want to keep it that way. We want to keep that ratio down around 1.3 or 1.4 versus again, September of fiscal year 2020, we're 2.45, right?
Right. This
So-
number right here.
Right. So my question is, how do we keep our ticketing at that level? Do we hand out more and are we at this level because of the number of courtesy cards we're giving out? That would be my hunch on this.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it for sure. And some of it, because we had the courtesy program. Well, we can't see these months because that's, when
There
we
was
stopped
nothing,
during COVID. But yeah, that's certainly going to be a part of it. And part of it is just going to be the natural, ratio of just demand is lower and.
Right. But I mean, we do, we have to give out some tickets or people abuse the system. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but to me, this report is very helpful as we go forward to just see what the ticketing ratio is. And if we see that it's moving upward beyond whatever we decide we want to keep it at 1.4, then we're going to ask that you guys give out more courtesy cards. If it's dropping below that, then maybe you do less courtesy cards. That's my take of this and the value of this information.
Interesting. Okay.
Staff, does that, you've been doing this a long time and you look at lots of data. I mean, does that make sense to you, what I just said?
So, yeah, I don't think you want to be driven by the number as much as you want to by your policies. So the number is going to be the number, and this is probably the metric that we keep reviewing and you keep reviewing to see, hey, are our policies that we've got in place working the way we want them to? And if it's within a reasonable variance to what you're seeing here, then I think your policies are appropriate. But I don't want to. I know you're not. I know that's not what you're saying. That you want to direct us to basically have some type of quota where we got to hit this 1.3 or whatever the number is that you set. There's going to be variables from month to month and year to year that's going to make that fluctuate a little bit. But I think this to me represents, policies that you have in place, that if this is what you're thinking is an acceptable ratio, then the policies that you've got in place with the courtesy card program and is working then.
Yeah. What year did we start courtesy cards? Do we know?
I don't know. You stumped me.
No.
Yeah.
I want to say it's been, it's probably in 2019, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Because if you look at fiscal year 18 and the ratio is much higher, right, 2.5% in November 18.
It would be funny if it kind of started right here in December of 18.
So I know
I'll find out.
Okay. I know there's a lot, you mentioned the variables, I understand that, but also our policies, as you said, can also affect these numbers, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, what I see from this is that, we're not ticketing any more aggressively and probably less aggressively than we have in past years. So.
Yeah, so I think that certainly is important to have handy when you get into those discussions about aggressive ticketing and how that really compares to the real story.
Yeah.
Mustafa, you can,
Okay.
you can keep this running for us,
Yeah, absolutely.
include this in, and we'll see where it takes us, you know? Interesting. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Well, financial and operating. Who wants to go first? What? You are muted.
Yes.
Jess,
Jess, you're muted.
you're muted.
I couldn't get back to you guys. Yeah,
Show
so
it
I'm
to
happy to go.
Charlie. I can only see her forehead.
Here she is. She's
Oh,
joined the
let's see her,
party.
yeah.
Hey, hi.
Yeah.
There she
Oh,
is.
so cute.
Is this her first official Zoom?
This is
Maria.
her first official parking authority meeting.
Ah, nice.
Thanks, guys.
But-
Thanks for entertaining the baby.
Jess, you gotta hold her up one more time for Maria to see.
Oh yeah, of course, there she is.
Oh my God, so beautiful. How cute is that? Aww. See? See? Aw,
Yep.
so beautiful. Very,
Thanks.
congratulations.
Thanks so
Okay.
much. Thank you. All right, back to business here. So staff ran some numbers for me to talk to you about, which reviews basically the option 4 that you guys chose when it came to the COVID option. So the good news is that the numbers are looking more on the positive side. So revenues are off about 9% compared to projections. So we're looking at our actual is 1,075,000 versus our proposed, which was 1,179,000. So minus 9% there. Expenses are favorable by 16% compared to the projections. So what we're losing in revenues, we're making up in the expenses portion. And the fund balance is favorable to plan by 50%. So I think although we are seeing the loss in revenue, we've also reduced those expenses. So although we've seen a loss, we've not seen the loss that we originally projected when we looked at option 4. Right, and I'm gonna pass it over to staff for the financial piece
Operations.
and operations.
Thanks, Jess. And
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, Jess hit it on the head. The COVID reopening plan had you year to date losing about 240,000 to affecting the fund balance, and what actually came in was we're at about 121,000. So so that's the positive sign to having a loss, I guess. Not as big.
Fair enough.
For
Right.
just a question for staff though, before we move forward on that. Staff, is there the way in which the operations are running currently, do you project that the expenses will continue to be at that level, or do you feel like you're ramping up with the courtesy cards and you're ramping up on the operational level and that we would see a close in that gap?
Yeah, so right now, I think we are okay the way we are. I'm not sure if I heard it right, if the governor's imposing another curfew. And if that happens, I don't see us, ramping up soon. So I don't see it really changing, but I do see the positive variance on the expense side to continue for a while. So we'll be looking at our reopening kind of rates and where demand is and revenues, and we'll adjust accordingly. So right now, I think I'm not worried that we're going to lose kind of the trend that we're seeing that we've been able to maintain and be favorable to the reopening plan. Does that answer it?
Yeah.
It does. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, okay.
Any comments before we go to the operating? You want to share your screen again, Stath? And
Yeah, I can share it. Did you want me to go through the whole report again, or do you want me to give more of a higher level? I'll pull up the report in case somebody has a question. I can go to the screen if you want. You tell me.
I think a good synopsis is enough for this month. If you want to pull the report out and just flip through it real quick, and we'll do the, the
Sure.
bullet points like you.
Okay. Let me get that. So this is the September report. So, we talked about the reopening plan. Revenue compared to budget is down 44%. Expenses are favorable because of our savings plan and deferral of certain expenses, 42.5%. And year to date compared to last year, revenues are down, 45% on the revenue side. On the expense side, compared to last year, we're down 23%. For the month, we're down 33%, and to budget, a little over 30%. On the transient activity side and the demands, we assumed that transient demand would be at 50% of like pre-COVID demand. Actually, in September, I think it was actually 60%. I'm sorry, it's not 50%. And we're at about 42%. So that's part of where we were off when Jess had her report. Permit activity has been pretty stable. And that's been the one part that's been helpful to the financials. So actual revenue is about 82% of budget.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, we can keep going down. So I tried to put a little more information in here and changed it up a little bit, but so transit activity has been down almost 42% compared to last year. And you can see that graphically and where it's coming from. Is this big enough?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the impact on revenues. Permits we talked about. And if you want to go by location, did you want to go by location or?
Yeah, let's just go through it. We'll just go through it quick.
Okay. So, we're still seeing activity being down everywhere, because of COVID and the reopening or lack there. But it's still, funny enough, still does kind of follow seasonal trends. So even though we're off, you still see the kind of bump in the summer. People were trying to get back out, and that is the busier time for the Garage.
I'm kind of surprised to see the amount, 43% checks and cash. I was really expecting it to be a lot more credit cards. You wonder?
I don't really have a great explanation for that. I'd have to really start doing some surveys, but yeah, some locations like this one, I don't know, maybe, a lot of people throwing out bills and paying the pay on foot stations is really what's driving it, I guess.
Interesting.
I mean, overall, system-wide, it's like, I think 78% or something credit card,
Yeah.
but then you go to Webster, you know, and you got almost 80%
Yeah.
credit card.
Does it have to do with Washington?
What's that?
Does it have to do with Washington? The parking on Washington isn't really adding to that.
Oh, overall, yeah, it could be overall. I mean,
Yeah.
but back up to Maritime, you know, I don't have a great explanation though for it. Webster's still been underperforming like the rest of them, probably a little more just because of the railroad station and commuter business being down, and
Yep.
you know that part of the lot does seem to attract commuters. Haviland has been hasn't had as much of an impact just because of the residential base that's there. So you know, on the revenue side, that's why I think it hasn't been so far off. On the transient side, there's still some activity going on. So that doesn't look so bad graphically.
Yeah.
I mean, transient was down 13%, 15% compared to last year. You know, year to date, it's almost 18%. You know, pay by sell is still strong.
That's what I expect. You know, I figured people would be hands off cash and hands off, you know, as much as they could.
Yeah, kind of the touchless option.
Yeah.
You know, Water Street still down about 20% as far as activity goes. You know, revenue had a bigger hit, shorter term stays probably.
Jess, do we have any more new information on whether or not North Water Street is going to start getting utilized by the metro and the train bridge folks?
Vanessa, that's probably a better question for you. You're probably more up to date.
As of now, we don't have any dates there, so I'm not expecting anything soon.
Great.
They had the closure of North Water, but not the lot until 2 weeks ago, so they could do the main water main replacement there. They're gonna do some work in the river this coming winter. As of now, they haven't asked for any spaces in the lot. There's a chance that they may need to block a couple of spaces so they can get their operations going, but everything will be in the river. So I'm not expecting any major impact this winter. At least I haven't heard about it yet.
Is there some sort of fair lead time that we've agreed to for them to let us know when that's happening?
If we're gonna definitely know in advance, unless it's kind of a last minute thing. I don't think we have established a certain time, but like something that has to be, I believe that I don't have anything on the specs that says that, but they know that they have to give us notice. The only thing is that as soon as they can finalize their construction schedule, we're going to end up getting when the closures will be. As of now, they are still trying to figure out the constructability of the bridge and what will be impacted. After that is done and they can lay out on a schedule, then we're going to be able to see exactly when those closures will be happening.
Right. Okay. Sorry, Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. As we were talking about before, the rail station facilities have been taking a beating. You know, the transit activity has been down 90%, and you can see that here. That's had an impact on revenue too. Even our permit parkers is down. I say pretty significantly. We usually carried about 760 monthly parkers. Now we're down to 500 and change.
Yeah.
And of course, we had one of the busiest locations for pay by cell transactions are the railroad station facility. So that's obviously reflecting a big impact there too.
Right.
And with, East Norwalk now that we're starting to accept transient parking. Yankee Doodle, there's this spike. If anybody remembers, this was because of McMahon Ford and paying some previous balances owed. So it abnormally shows a spike here because we're on a cash basis. So that's why that's there. And that's why it doesn't correspond with the transient activity. Wall Street's, been busier. This is kind of post construction and all that too. So there's more activity going on.
Is that mechanics lot or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Main Street activity there has been down, over 11%. Revenue's down over 24%. But generally, we're still seeing, some of the average transactions and average stays have pretty much stayed relatively stable when I've been looking at it kind of month to month. So even though activity and things are down, people's parking patterns have still stayed pretty much the same.
Okay.
Library lot, obviously, there's nothing to talk about there.
Are they open, the library?
The-
I don't even know if the library is open.
yeah,
I think by appointment or something.
yeah.
That's
Nobody. I
correct.
mean,
It's
there
only
hasn't been
by
any
appointment.
activity as far as the lot.
Yeah, it's only by appointment that they are open. So
Liberty Square, still, it's off.
Following the trend, though.
Yep, following the trends. This is when we opened it up. On street is, like everything else, it's been down over 22%, 34% as far as revenue. And we're still seeing, again, like the average stays have pretty much stayed pretty stable, about 2 hours. And enforcement, I think, we already went through that whole analysis of issuance versus demands. And you can see that's how that compares to previous years. And this citation revenue for July was, there's usually a delay between tickets being issued and when they start being collected. So that's why this seems like an abnormal number, but it's really not. It's kind of like a trailing at least 30 days where, at least probably 50% of the tickets are collected. And the collection program, we're still collecting old tickets past, 90 days. So the customer courtesy program, we've got year to date. Well, for the month, the program days now have been expanded as was directed by the board. So basically, we're expanding it every day. And year to date, we are by the measures you had for the success of the program, we're at almost, so in 3 months, we're at about 60% of where we issued courtesy notices last year. So, so we had about almost 5,000 tickets issued this fiscal year for 3 months. All of fiscal year 20, we issued 8,000. So that's 62% of where we were last year in the first 3 months. And as far as the value of the citations goes, this year, the value of those courtesy tickets, if they were citations, was 107,000. Last year, for 12 months, it was 184,000. So you're at almost 60% of that in a quarter of the time.
Right. Right.
So I think that's a good sign. And so this is the first time where the lines haven't been on top of each other, and now they're crossing over because of COVID and activity. Every year, every month was higher than the previous year, except for
Right.
down here.
That's just a volume issue, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean it's an economy. It's a shutdown issue.
Yep.
Got to get people back into George's restaurant.
That's right.
And the appeals, you can see, are down just as a natural function of lower volume of tickets issued. And our equipment operability, these are really the meters in Sono. We started showing this, I think, early on in 2000 when the meters were first installed, just because there were questions about whether they were working properly, but they're always in the high 90s to 100%. So I may end up, unless you really want to see it, I may end up just pulling this from the report, unless you want to continue to see it. But other than that, that's really all I have to report, unless there's questions.
Sounds good, Stott. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
In my screen back, going to the capital budget. Vanessa, do you have some projects and some reports for us on?
To be honest, I don't have much of a change from last month.
Okay.
The only thing that changed was that the Yankee Doodle outdoor lighting that we are repairing, we finalized the repair this week. We're just waiting now for them to come back and reprogram what we have. So that's why it's not on, because we need to redo all the programming that we had before. So we don't know exactly when the person will come. I think that due to COVID, there is a chance that we may need to delay a couple of weeks. We'll see how it goes. Besides that, Desmond is still working on the design for the caulking for the South Norwalk train station that we are hopefully we'll get the design finished by the end of the year and be during the winter, so we can do that work next year.
And that's regularly scheduled maintenance, right?
Yes, this is capital project. What happened is that we try to get all the garage on top of the shape. So we have all this maintenance program that we keep rotating and doing the work that is needed. We have the garage actually look extremely good. You guys invest a lot of money on it in the past few years. One thing that we never did at South Norwalk is really the caulking on the outside. And the reason for that is due to the proximity with the tracks. It's a very expensive project. So now what we are doing is the money that we have is a capital money we're gonna use for pretty much that project only for this year. And the other one is the Webster parking lot, green infrastructure improvements. There were some comments that First O'Neill, our designer, received. They are addressing and just send it back. So now we have to just wait for that to move forward. Which means that we were hoping to have a design complete by the end of this year. I don't see it happen. So probably we're gonna only get this project complete more towards the end of next year. We were hoping that we would be finished by early summer, but I think that it will not gonna happen now.
Okay. I guess I for one, feel very strongly about maintenance, not only the needed maintenance, but the preventative maintenance. So I'm definitely interested in hearing, from you, Vanessa, moving forward, how we can keep this maintenance schedule alive and make sure that, we keep our property in the best shape we can, regardless of.
Yeah, so Desmond did a study a few years ago that we updated about 2 years ago.
Yep.
And that's what we follow. So
Right.
we go based on his study. So now that we are getting close to our budget season, we look back at that study, see what will be needed to be done on those garages. We go back, we look at it again, see if we can really do that kind of project, because that's a forecast that they do for 5 years. So I truly believe that because the usage of the garage wasn't that much this year, there is a chance that we may need to do as much maintenance in the garage next year as we usually do. But that's what we follow. That's our base. And then when we present the capital request to all the boards, we tell them that it's not that we just decided to do that. Desmond went there, that is our consultant, and they do an overall, and then they put this 5-year plan.
Right. And well, I mean, quite frankly, regardless of the use, it's a structure outside in the weather that needs to be maintained and taken care of. So I appreciate that. And we will continue to stick with Desmond's recommendations as best we can with what we have. Okay. What else? Anything else?
I don't have anything else to report for now. Again, in case something else happened with the walk bridge, I'm happy to also report to you guys if they're gonna affect any of the lots. What I really see that may be coming soon is that they're gonna take the temporary lot on East Avenue. That should be taken from us in a very short period of time. They haven't give us any dates yet, but they're gonna supposedly start the advanced utility project next year, towards late spring, beginning of summer, and they're gonna need that lot for staging. So again, they haven't notified us. They just been telling we're gonna need the lot. We're gonna get back our lot, but I don't have a date yet.
You said East Avenue?
Yes, that temporary lot.
The temporary
That
lot,
one,
right?
yes,
right.
that one should be going back to DOT, is their lot. Remember, we have
Right.
an agreement with them for usage. So that one, I'm not gonna be surprised if they take them within the next 2 months.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jess, is there any other business?
I did want to update everyone to let you know that the director of TMP job just posting went up internally last Friday and will go up publicly later this week. So I wanted to let you know that that is happening. I also wanted to let you know that the assistant parking director position, the job description has been drafted and will go up probably next week. So I wanted to give you an update on that as well. And those are the only updates I wanted to give in other business.
Judd?
Did we want to talk about the Bollards, or is that next month?
We may, sure. The latest that I've heard about the Bollards was that there's been a suggestion made that we find a few, 2 or 3 possible examples of replacements for the covers of the bollards, and put them out there and offer the community up for their opinion, and possibly change them out from the existing yellow to something a little more, something that fits the community a little better. What?
Mike, can I just
we
add
lose you,
just
Joe?
one thing? Just a quick thing that I want to add, because when I saw that correspondence, I saw that they sent a sample of what they were looking for. I just want to clarify that those ballards that are there, the use for it is so the cars will not gonna back up and then either hit a tree or get damage also.
Right.
So a granite ballard or some kind of a stone that was proposed, usually those are used if you want to block an entrance so a car cannot drive through. So it's very different purpose for those two kind of bollards. So sometimes you see, for instance, in front of schools when you drop off your kids, that they have a more robust bollards because they don't want that the cars go through and then can hit the kids there. On this one is actually to protect the car. The reason why there is a plastic cover is so the cars, they usually touch that and then they do not get damaged. So that's the only thing that I want to bring to the board.
Absolutely. And I was not in favor of the sample that was sent, but I do know that Judd researched a few, which amounts to plastic as well, plastic covers. They were just different shapes and styles and colors that again may just fit aesthetically a little bit better in the neighborhood. Judd, what do you got for us?
Yeah, there's plastic ones that look sort of like cast iron hitching posts. There's some that look somewhat like a granite, they'd be maybe 6 by 6, but they're plastic. And from what I understand, they slide over, you pull off the yellow one. And Vanessa, maybe, you have experience with this, but you pull off the yellow cover and then you can slide on one of these decorative ones, the faux granite or the faux
Iron.
cast iron post. So,
well, I
but
believe that
like
I have just to make sure that is that will fit.
Yes.
It because sometimes what happened, the manufacturer do a little bit of a change, so you can only buy, let's call those kind of cases from them, so it will not be interchangeable. So in other words, I will need to look at the cut sheets of the product to see if we can use on the ones that we have now.
Okay, you don't know who that manufacturer is off the top of your head?
I don't, because I think that, but definitely we can get that information. It's not under the DPW. I think it's with TMP because one was purchased was through them. That's easy to find out.
Yeah, we can figure that out for sure.
And I think it's really okay, without a formal vote. I think it's really okay if Judd and Vanessa got together to figure out which ones would work, and we actually purchased 1 or 2 or 3 of these, and then had them installed and got an opinion. And maybe next month we could take that next step or not.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
Vanessa, you could dig up the cut sheet on that in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, we'll look for it and then I'll send it to you.
Okay, great.
Great. Tom, you're muted, but the next agenda item is a motion to adjourn. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I unmuted myself just for that.
Outstanding.
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second to that motion?
I just want to keep going.
All right, then I'll second it.
Tom's going to second it. I'll second it.
All right, you guys, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yep.
All right.
Thank
All right,
you.
have a good
Appreciate
night.
everybody's time.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
Night. Thank you, Delene, if you're still there.
Thank you. Have a good night.